Hi boys and girls, and welcome back to our second video drawing our tiger. So if you want to learn how to draw a tiger, find our video about how to draw a tiger. Today we are going to be looking at how we can shade our tiger using pencil crayons. I'm using very ordinary school grade pencil crayons. Anything that you'd find in your school pencil case you can use. If you are being creative and you want to use something else that you have in your house, whether you want to use your oil pastels, you want to use cookies, you're welcome to do that. So there's no rules about what we have to use. So looking at our tiger, a tiger, his color is generally orange, but a tiger is also, what also makes him is that he also has bits of white, and so his white is found around his face, his ears, around the edge of the fur around his face, his underbelly, and that includes this leg, these legs, and on the back of his other legs. The end of his tail is often also white. So we're going to be giving him a general shading of orange, but we are going to be leaving some areas white. Now I do not have a white pencil crayon, but my paper is white. So even all the areas that I want to remain white, I'm not going to color. I'm going to keep it plain, and I'm going to use my paper to work with my paper to give me those white tones, and I'll show you how. Now, we also want to do some shading to get more of a 3D effect, put in those shadows and get more of a form of his body. It is easier to find shape and form in shading on a picture that has already got some color on. So we're going to start with our orange, and we're going to give a general orange shading everywhere. As I'm shading, the direction of my marks is important. So I want you to think about the shape of this animal and how his fur is going along. So if I'm going around over the top of his head and his neck, maybe my marks are going from side to side. Perhaps here on his flanks, they are following that shape. And I'm making lots of little marks. And my direction is changing with the shape of his body. Perhaps on his back, it's coming over his back. I can imagine that lines coming over his fur, coming down from his back, coming down his body. So I'm going to start off. I want you to think about the direction of his fur, and that is the direction that your pencil must go. So we're not going to just color in with big strokes that go across his whole body in the same direction. We're going to be thoughtful. So I'm going to color in with the orange, and you can pause and color yours in orange as well, and see where I have left the white areas. I'm going to stop there. All I've done is just giving a medium orange, very rough shading of the orange, and you can see now where I have left white areas around his face, his ear. There's a little white spot above his eye, the underside of his legs, under his neck, his belly, and the underside of his legs, and a little bit on the end of his tail. Right, now we want to bring him a little bit more to life, bring in some shadows. We're very lucky with the tiger that just with his stripes he has a lot of beautiful contrast already, so we don't have to work too hard. I'm going to take my red pencil crayon. Now I don't want him to turn into a red tiger, so I'm going to be very thoughtful about where I'm going to use my red. And I'm just going to look for those areas that I want to add a little more depth to bring out his shape. So I'm going to start by going along his back, maybe a little bit around his eye, bring out some of his face. And I'm blending that orange and the red together. I could also imagine that maybe there's a bit of a shadow behind his leg here, going up his flank, his side up to his shoulder, front of this leg as it's curving round, add a little bit of shadow there. This tail is a bit further behind, so I'm going to darken that also. Don't want to become too red, but do want just that tone. Front of this leg, and in fact under here we can also add a little bit. Let's give his face a little more attention, especially underneath his eye here and over the top of his head, between his ears. Right, you can see I've just got some different tones now. What I can do now is take my orange again and just blend that a little bit more. As I say, these are not special pencil crayons, they're just normal school pencil crayons. And I'm just intensifying that color a little bit. Particularly in some of those areas where I want to show that beautiful fur. Thinking about the direction of my strokes. My strokes don't have to be all in the same direction, but I want to knit them together thoughtfully. I'm going to add a little bit more depth with some brown. So I'm going to repeat again, and I'm just going to be adding a bit of brown. You could use a bit of black as well, if you would like, for a bit of a shadow. Sometimes we use too much black for shadows. With this brown now, I'm going to put a bit more in where I think there's a shadow here. Underneath. Right, my brown has broken and I've actually lost my sharpness. I'm going to carry on with black, as it turns out. So this leg is behind, and so I'm going to give a bit of a shadow. That leg, even a little bit there, his bit of his belly. His fur under here is white, but I can give a bit of a touch of an idea of some shadow around, with the black going around just the edges of where the white is. Imagining that fur kind of texture. Just very light. His face is obviously important. That's where all his characters found. So I'm also again going to take my black, and I'm just going to put in what I would think are some of the shadows around these white areas of his fur. I'm also going to give his ear some gray just to fill that in. When we are drawing, we make an illusion of things being 3D by coloring in or shading things that are further away, darker, and things that are closer are lighter. So here we have this leg is further away, and so it's got a shadow. This leg is in the front, and so it doesn't have a shadow. I'm going to take my orange and I'm going to just find his main areas of his body and just intensify that color. We want to see that tiger's orange. So along his sides and down his flanks, down his the sides of his leg and this area here. And I'm knitting my marks together. Alright, there are a couple of other colors I could use. I've got a bit of yellow. Maybe where this white and orange is joining, I can add a very light little bit of yellow just to give him some bit of brightness. I think I'm also going to give him a really good yellow eye. So I can add a touch of yellow. I could also use some peach, and that's also a very light, sort of more gentle color. I can use that also just to add some lighter tones. I wanted to say mostly white, but it's just that in between of a white and an orange. But you can see that where there are white areas, those are in fact areas that I have not colored in. So to recap, it's easier to shade and to create form on a drawing that has already got some tones to it. So that is why I started with my orange, and I just did, without thinking about it too much, I just did a general orange everywhere, maintaining and protecting those white bits that I wanted to keep. Then I went back and I intensified the color in areas, and I also added some darker tones like the red and the brown and the black, which can help to bring out some more of his shape and form and make him look more 3D. I also took the yellow and just added a little bit of brightness. And lastly, I took that black pencil crayon and very lightly brought out some of the texture and shadow of his white furry bits. Now my tiger is complete, but you can carry on. You can think about where your tiger is and what is his habitat, his environment, and you can fill out where this tiger is and really have a lot of fun with that, imagining him in the forests of India. So I hope that you enjoy this tiger and that you are able to enjoy bringing him to life with your colors. After I've done my color, I want to make sure that my black stripes are really nice and clear. So I used a pen before, and I can go again and just touch up my black stripes if I need to, just so that they are nice and black and sharp. And that's what our tiger's getting a lot of contrast that way. He's looking really beautiful. If I used a black pencil crown, then what would be a good idea is just to go over again very neatly and just touch up where you can see that perhaps you needed a little bit of extra blackness. But I hope that you enjoy this drawing and that you're able to bring your tigers to life, and that you'll be able to draw many, many more tigers in the future. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.